Welcome to the Mind of Business Success podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Cramer. I have Dr. Cindy with us. You are going to love her. As entrepreneurs, you have to sell yourself. And as a visionary, it is so challenging sometimes to determine who you even are, especially if you are multi-passionate. We're going to talk about that and sales and so much more. Welcome to the show, Cindy.
It is so good to be here, Alicia. Thank you for having me.
I love you already, and we have literally just met. Sales is something that we've talked about before, actually numerous times with other guests, but you're not just a typical sales coach or sales consultant. I mean, you are the woman, right? You're the one that everyone goes to for the sales advice. But you also have this your newest book, which is a topic that we just absolutely have to get into. So before I babble on too much more, right? I'm kind of setting the stage. Everybody's like, "Ooh, what's this Dr. Cindy going to talk about?" Let's start by talking a little bit about how did you even get into this? How did you fall into this realm of being the go-to sales gal?
So it's actually kind of a funny story because I never wanted to be in sales. So the journey was quite circuitous. And the short version is I was a college professor, went into consulting, and about 6 months into the consulting job, got put into a sales role. And honestly, Alicia, I thought I was going to get fired. I'm like, I can't sell. I don't want to sell. I think sales is kind of, ugh. And then all of a sudden, in the role, I realized I'd been selling my whole life. I just didn't call it sales. I was helping people. I was figuring out ways to find a solution. I'm like, that's sales? That all along, that's all it was. And I had this horrible vision of this icky, pushy, cheesy, manipulative, fast talking, like in my mind, I call him Tommy Two Thumbs. He's like, hey, what's it going to take? And I'm like, to be that. And so when I realized I could sell, I was good at it because I cared about people and I wanted to help them, it opened all the doors to go, I need to go help and tell the world this is what sales really is and help people to sort of embrace that also. So that's how I ended up in it. And it's really authentic to me. I'm not going to teach you some gimmick. I'm not going to teach you a pitch. I just want you to be able to bring your superpowers to the world and help other people.
I love that. This audience is open. They're open-minded, and they tend to think a little bit differently than the old school conventional approach to business. We don't like being sold. We don't like feeling like someone is pushing their agenda on us or talking down to us or trying to manipulate us with tactics and mirroring techniques. And we have a BS radar. It is built into us. Now, for those who say to themselves, if I could just be myself and I could sell my products, my services, my vision, and it could be easy and it could be natural and it could feel good. Yes, I would love that, but how? Where do we even begin?
So I love this question because literally this is the crux of sort of where everything starts for what I teach. And you said something really important. Nobody wants to be sold. And I agree with that. And I talk about that in my books. No one wants to be sold, but everybody likes to buy. And so it should never be a push. It should be an invitation. And so the goal is to make sure the world knows who you are, your superpowers, what your magic is that you're bringing so that they're intrigued enough to learn more. And then you can invite them in. And so it starts with you. It starts with selling yourself. And this is the part that even seasoned sales pros, like the people that would literally say, I'm in sales, this is what I do. This is where they mess up. They think they have the best product or the best service, and they have all these lovely little scripts that they're going to use to tell you how fabulous they are. And you mentioned mirroring, like we know all the tactics. Like as human beings, we're like, okay, I'm totally being sold right now. So, what I want you to be able to do is think about how you connect with another human being. How are you getting them to trust you first before you even get to start talking about your product, your service, your company? Because I need to trust you before I trust anything else you're trying to even invite me into. And people forget that. And I believe that we sell ourselves short because we don't proactively sell ourselves. We expect our reputation to speak for itself. We expect that, oh, well, I have this giant network on LinkedIn. No, you have a net on LinkedIn. It's not a network unless they're advocating for you. So it's recognizing you have to be the person that is proactive to make sure you're getting your message out there and then getting that network to start mobilizing to be able to assist.
Okay, so this just opens up a whole other list of questions. We are sold into believing that if I build a brand, if I have a large social media following, even if I have a whole host of testimonials, but those beliefs that we have inside of us about how to present ourselves, when it's okay to offer our service, the feeling like maybe we're doing something wrong, or maybe somebody can't afford us, or any of the laundry list of internal obstacles that we have. How does this come into play when someone really is like, okay, I need to embrace this. I need to accept that I've got to sell myself and I've got to do it in an authentic way. I've got to do it the right way. But there's all that stuff. How do you address the stuff?
Yeah. So this stuff is what I call the ick factor. It's that icky, oh, I don't want to do that. But if you shift your mindset, and this is your world, but if you shift your mindset around what the sale actually is and it being the invitation to some solution that's going to make their life great, then give them the opportunity to say yes or no. And what's ending up happening is in our own limiting belief system with sales, you're pre-qualifying that they're going to tell you no. You're deciding now's not the right time. You're deciding that they don't deserve the chance to do this, that they can't afford it. If you really think about it, that's more narcissistic than asking for the sale because you're thinking you know better for them. But if you view sales as simply that opportunity for them to be welcomed into the party, it changes the dynamic of the conversation. And you're also recognizing it's okay to walk away. It's okay if they say no, that now isn't the right time. But if you take away their option to be invited in, think about how many people you're stalling. Think about how many people you're neglecting to assist and help. And that's not your mission as an entrepreneur. That's not your mission as a salesperson. But we kind of get into that space because we think, now's not the moment. And salespeople do this too. Like, now's not the moment. I haven't developed their relationship enough. How are you to decide that they think that way of you or not? Give them the chance. Give them, and people are smart. People know what they need. But if they don't know what you're offering, they don't know it's an option. And I guarantee that every single person that's listening or watching this today has had someone go, oh, I forgot you do that. Or, oh, I didn't know you did that. Yikes. That is because you didn't sell yourself. You didn't let them know this is who I am and this is the space that I take up in the world. And I'd love to be the flower, not the bee. You can be the bees. Help me get folks to come in and welcome them.
I want to talk for a moment about that entrepreneur who is somewhat confused within themselves about what they're selling. I'm seeing this a lot with what I would refer to as conscious entrepreneurs, visionary entrepreneurs. Some people like to consider themselves a light worker. They're a healer, they're a helper, and they're very multi-passionate. And maybe they are an artist and they sell their art, but they also are um, some type of business consultant. And they don't see how these things go together. And that is a tripping point for them in this whole realm of selling themselves and allowing themselves to be seen for their greatness and what they can do to help others. I know this is something that you address, and I would love for you to shed a little bit of light on this because I know that there are people listening to this that is holding them back. And I can personally say, I know how it feels to feel like you're pigeonholing yourself because you don't feel like all of your passions really fit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of twofold. So I want to address sort of the artistic side of passion first, because what ends up happening is we're all multifaceted. We're not one-dimensional humans, and that's kind of what makes us awesome is we have all these different things. It doesn't say that you can't be an artist and a painter and a sculptor and still run a successful consulting business. It doesn't say you can't be a teacher and yet still, teach dance at night. Whatever it is, you can be all of those things. It's making sure that they work in harmony. But where I see a lot of people sell themselves short is when it is a natural ability. So when you are the artist, when you're the singer, when you're the dancer, when you're the sculptor, when you're the therapist, just because it comes easier to you and it's a natural talent doesn't mean you can't charge for it. Doesn't mean that you can't put it out into the world and say, this is space I'm taking up and these are powers that I can offer and heal, and inviting people into that. And oh, by the way, I also do this. So that's one thing. And I see that, and it breaks my heart, honestly, because I know a lot of performers, and it's like they don't think they can charge for it. Because it's like, well, it's just easy for me. It's 30 minutes. That's 30 minutes of your time. Those are billable hours. So, so recognizing that that passion is still a viable business, then melding the two. This is where people kind of create some friction in their own personal brand and they don't even know that they're doing it. You've got to be clear that you are all of these things, or you are simply bringing these to the world. Your choice, and you absolutely can be all of them, but you have to make sure you're giving equal push. And so you kind of think of it like a barbell. Maybe you're pushing up the business side of the barbell, but you still really want this artistic passion. You need to push that up too and bring your whole self to the world and show them all those things. And what's interesting is a lot of times you're cutting out an audience because they don't think they fit over here. But you connect with them on the artistic side, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, you do executive coaching? I need that." So you're segregating your audience by not having a better strategic plan about your brand and who you are and what you do. And so this is some real mind stuff that needs to happen first, is you deciding what you want your brand to be in the world, who you want to be known as, and then start thinking about how it does fit together, because it does. I mean, you're a fully formed human being, whoever you are listening and watching. So somehow those passions have fed one another. Somehow they've made each other successful. That in itself is a talent that you can share with other people. And my guess is whatever your product or service is that you're offering that to a multifaceted human too. They need to know you're not just a robot on this side, that you have these other things. I think it can really benefit a lot of your listeners to recognize those facets can feed the passion.
So I want to ask a little bit more of a practical question.
Mhm.
We know that we have to sell our product, our service. We know we have to sell ourselves to our prospective client or customer or patient. When it comes to our support system, we also have to sell to them. I'd love to shed a little bit of light on just how important it is to acknowledge the sales role that we need to embody in all of the aspects of our lives and of our businesses.
So this is an area where I find so many people truly sell themselves short because their own families can't describe what they do. Their own neighbors can't describe what they do. And it's because we haven't invited them in. We sort of are expecting because they are adjacent to us, whether it be physically, emotionally, their family members, they should just know everything that's going on in our lives. It's not true. And we have to solicit their help and their advocacy and their support. And so often we don't because we assume we have it. I think we do to a degree. I think they want to support us, they want us to be successful. But where we fall short is that they don't know how to help us. They're not clear on who our audience is and how they can be an advocate and how they can be a mouthpiece for us. And I say this all the time, nobody does this life alone. I don't care if you swear that you're a solopreneur and you did it by yourself. Somebody gave you a chance at some point. Like everybody has help. And most of your fans, as I'll call them, want to help you. They just don't know how. So when you're more clear about, gosh, Alicia, I'm really looking for more clients in this space. I'm really looking for more people to take our, online course on this. Do you know people? And then there is an actionable ask. Then you feel empowered to help. You wanted to help because you want to see me succeed. You want to see the business succeed. And you also have something you can go do. And then it raises your own level of awareness. So you're then seeking the opportunity to provide help to somebody else. We're all helpaholics at the end of the day. I really believe that. Like I think we want to assist, but we just need to know how. And I think that is where most entrepreneurs really are not engaging their networks enough because you're not soliciting the support.
Do you think that has something to do with fear?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're afraid they're going to say no. Okay, so let's be honest about that. We've all been told no, we all survived, we're okay, right? So, but recognizing that most of these folks actually want to help you. And they're not going to flat out say no. I would be shocked if your inner circle says, no, I don't want to help. They're not going to do that. These are people that love you and care about you, but they just need the tools. They need a couple bullet points. But I do think that fear comes into it. The other thing is, I think pride comes into it. I really do. I think it's this, they know what I do. My service speaks for itself. My academy speaks for itself. My books speak for themselves. No, you are selling yourself short if you think that. We live in such a distracted world. We need to make sure they know exactly what we do, the impact we're trying to make in the world, and what they can do to help us make that impact.
That is a really powerful point. And I'm hoping that people are like absorbing this for a moment. Now, I will be very honest. I let pride hold me back for way, way too long. And that was very much a defense mechanism because of insecurity. And I think that when we recognize that the walls we put up are just wounds that we need to heal, we can break through that so much faster and we can be of greater service when we do that.
I say this a lot that the mission has to be greater than the fear. And I believe that if you really are trying to impact people's lives and change their lives and make their lives better, the mission has to be greater than whatever fear you have. And I think pride is a form of fear sometimes. It's that, well, if I really put myself out there, and I see this with entrepreneurs, I call them 1 foot entrepreneurs. They have 1 foot out. But their strategic plan is never ready, their website's never ready, their marketing is never ready. And it's because of either that pride, that fear, there's something holding you back. And so recognizing if you're really trying to make this impact, that's got to be the push for you.
It comes right back to that why that everyone is always talking about. You really do need to clarify that within yourself because there are so many things the mind will throw at you, so many obstacles that appear to be coming from outside of you, but really is just our fears, our doubts, our insecurities, interpreting those things as evidence for our limitations and not good enough and not worthy and all of that stuff. I love the work that you are doing, Cindy. You've got a couple of books, and I want to make sure that we enlighten our audience as to what those books are so that they can go and get them and read them and learn from you. So, can you tell us a little bit about your books?
Absolutely. Thank you. The first book is called Every Job is a Sales Job. And it is the book that I wish somebody had given me when I was 18. It would have changed a lot of things if I had known that. And it de-ickifies sales. It helps to teach a system of sales that's not pushy, not manipulative. It really is that invitation and truly empowering you of knowing how to sell. You're selling every day. You might as well do it on purpose. And my latest book is called Sell Yourself: How to Create, Live, and Sell a Powerful Personal Brand. And this is about stopping that pattern of selling yourself short, recognizing what your why is, letting the mission be greater than the fear, and then bringing your full self, all the facets to the world, your superpowers, and inviting people in.
These are the perfect types of sales books for the individuals who are drawn to this podcast. We don't want to sell in that old school way. We're not old school business owners. We are very much of the new way of thinking, which is coming from being of service, collaboration, genuinely giving a fuck, if I may just say it bluntly.
Yes.
Um, and it's time for us to really step into that and own that, not like we're the outsider, because the game is changing and business is changing, and the leaders that we're seeing in business now have very different energy, very different mindsets than the industry titans of our past.
Couldn't agree more. It's about the people. And that's the kind of sales that I teach, is people connecting with people. And I say this all the time too. They're people before they're prospects. So if you can sell yourself and get them to trust you, they're going to trust whatever advice that you give. And maybe that advice is your product or service. And then think about how many people you can help.
I love this conversation. How can our listeners connect with you?
I am very easy to find. It's drcindy.com, drcindy.com, or on social media at First Lady of Sales, 1ST, Lady of Sales. And my books are available everywhere. I have Orange Leaf Consulting as my consulting company, and Orange Leaf Academy is my online academy. And I'd love to hear how everybody is interpreting what we've talked about today, and more importantly, implementing it. My favorite thing is to hear the success stories.
This has been a fantastic episode, Cindy. Thank you so much for being with us today. I really do appreciate the way that you make sales accessible to a heart-centered entrepreneur who has gifts that they need to be sharing with the world, and they need to find a way that aligns with them in order to do that.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great fun.
Well, I hope that our listeners enjoyed it as well. And to our listeners, I want to thank you. And if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. You know, we're bringing these amazing guests every single week. And until next time, we will see you in the next episode.